tech companies, and should it be, because the internet is brand new compared to the Constitution, right? But again, it's still a business and they have every right, like how you have every right.
Yes.
But where do we get involved to say, hey, if you're going to be openly talking about being a media where everybody has free speech, should there be laws where they can't censor like an Andrew Tate, even though you don't agree with them,
right.
but they don't have the right to do that? Where do you see that going?
So, I think that there is a pretty obvious move, thanks to Elon at X, to open up the Overton window on a lot of these platforms. So you're right, these are private companies. On the other hand, they're all protected by Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. That particular law basically says that if you are a platform with a comment section, then you should not be cultivating editorial content. Right? Once you're a platform, we're going to treat you as a platform, then you should not be essentially a publisher, not us. Right? We're, like YouTube is a place where people post their videos. They can have some rules, but it should be on sort of a value neutral basis. It shouldn't be done where they are cultivating the platform to the extent that it becomes a publisher. Right? In other words, if I were to be the person setting the presets on Facebook, and I was like, anything that does not approve of Donald Trump, delete. Okay, that should be treated the same as Daily Wire, right? That's like that's it just philosophically, because now I'm doing what Daily Wire does. I'm saying here's the appropriate material, and I'm cultivating it, and everything else I'm throwing away. And I think that a lot of these places have been hiding behind the immunity of Section 230, which means that they're not culpable for the things they say. And they've been hiding behind that while manipulating the system. Now, if you want, one of the things that
how is that legal though?
So, again, the way that section, so it's certainly legal for them to decide what they want on the platform. The question is why they have immunity for doing that. So if it's libelous or false on our website, we can be sued. If somebody says something libelous or false on YouTube, YouTube can't really be sued, right? Only the person who put up the video can be sued. And the idea is because it's an open source, right? They're not the one who put it up. Well, what if they start removing things? Once they start removing enough things, then shouldn't they kind of be responsible for what they leave up? Right? That's sort of logic that's been
we forward. Definitely deal with that.
Yes. So there's a big problem for places like YouTube. The answer to that, theoretically, would be some form of neutral policy. And I think all of these platforms have been in search of what looks like neutral policy and sort of failing, because it's very difficult to come up with a neutral speech policy. Other than things like child pornography or active incitement to violence, it's very difficult to come up with that sort of stuff. And then it's also difficult, I understand all the challenges of you want advertisers on your platform. Advertisers may not want to be associated with content that's more evocative or that's more conflagrationist. And so, we want to make it a safe advertising environment. Well, the truth is that would be up to you. It should be up to the advertiser. The advertiser should say, I only want my stuff on this kind of video. And we move to that model. I think the model.
That's cool. Like, I post a lot of cards. I don't really know anything about the guy, though, so I'm not going to be able to help you with that. Sorry.
That's eventually going to be embraced, at least in the United States, is going to be a broader Overton window on a lot of these platforms with more advertiser involvement, in which they say, we want to be on this video, but not on this video. We want to be on this kind of video, but not on this kind of video. That seems to be the direction that Elon is moving, and I think that's a good direction.
Speaking of Elon, if you're watching, please give me my account. I've been locked out of X for about 2 months now. Forgot my password and my email. Elon, if you'd like to come on the show, I'd love to discuss thoughts with you. I'd love to learn from your perspective. Please reach out to us.
Do you think that having Elon take over Twitter, make it X, is what made Mark Zuckerberg come out and admit, that they were censoring
lawsuits?
Things?
No, it wasn't even lawsuits. So I think that for Zuckerberg, he was in fact Musk doing that.
Okay.
I think something Musk became, kind of like the avatar of free speech. And the truth is that if you look at the evolution of Zuckerberg, if you go back to 2019, Zuckerberg gave a speech at Georgetown University that sounds almost exactly like Elon today. He gave a speech at Georgetown where he talks about how Facebook was making it easier to do free speech and easier to have these conversations. It was very broad in his sort of perspective on what should be allowed and what should not be allowed. It was a very good speech, the 2019 Georgetown speech. And then he got hit so hard in 2020 by the COVID lockdowns and by the government and by everybody who's pressuring him that he locked up super tight. When that happened, I think that, the blowback, I think number one, he didn't expect it. And number two, I think he sort of realized that he overstepped. And so now I think he's trying to get back and hopefully open up. I'm hoping that he'll open up Facebook a little bit. He's made some indicators that he may do